So, UKAI, we are the trade body for AI businesses across the UK. And I'm sure many of you will have come across other industries that have trade bodies. It's really quite an ancient idea. It goes back to the guilds. You know, if you think back to the City of London, when they were first creating, whether it be skinners or whether it be weavers, they had guilds because they wanted to make sure that that industry was really successful and that industry had the skills and it could campaign for what that industry needed to be really successful. That's what UKAI is doing, but for AI. So 2 years ago, it's going to be our 2-year anniversary in November, and you're all invited to our summit on the 2nd of November at the Oval. 2 years ago in November, I got the opportunity to sit down with Ferriol Clark, who was then the AI minister. And she said that one of the things that she wanted to understand was, what does British AI need? What do British AI industries need from the government? And how can we make the British AI industry really successful? And she gave me the challenge of, can you go and speak to your network and find out from other entrepreneurs what they need? And I did that. And that network was then UKAI. And I went out and I sort of spoke to many businesses to figure out what it is that the UK industry needs. That was 2 years ago. And so much has changed in those 2 years, not just in the technology. UKAI, now we're 250 businesses right across the UK. We're launching chapters in Newcastle, in Leeds, in Manchester. I think we've got some of the Manchester crew here, haven't we? Shout out to the Manchester crew. Yeah, thank you very much. So thank you for coming down. Good trainings down there. We're launching in Scotland and in Northern Ireland as well later in this year as well. There's a lot of people right across the UK who are really interested in making the AI industry successful. And we know that we're stronger together. So if we come together in events like this, networking, but also in the work we're doing where we're building roundtables, where we're interacting with the government officials or sitting down with some government ministers like we did yesterday with Minister Ian Murray, the creative minister, that we know that's the way that we as an industry can really exert influence and tell the government what it is we need to do. And that's going to be the way that we build a successful industry. So hopefully that gives you a bit of background on UKAI. We've got plenty more stuff coming up. So tomorrow we've got a lunch where we're bringing together a very important network of thought leaders. And then on Thursday, we're at the Latin American Technology Business Forum at Amazon as part of London Tech Week. And we've got lots more events coming up as well. I wanted to give you some thoughts around sovereign AI and why it's so important. And then we're going to get into the panel discussion. So I think the word sovereign AI, it conjures up many different things, and that's part of the challenge. What is the definition of sovereign AI, right? Because when we first started talking about sovereign AI, it felt a little bit nationalistic. It was like, are we sort of out there flag waving around saying British AI is unique, it's special, and Britain's amazing? I mean, maybe some of those things are true, but it's not part of what we mean by sovereign AI. I think it has to be about having the ability to be independent and have that control and have that resilience within the UK. And if you think about many of our industries, actually we are independent in most of our industries, and we wouldn't let another country have complete control of our water, of our healthcare, of our defence. But when it comes to AI, we seem to be very reliant upon some global big tech. Now, I'm not against American technology. You know, I've worked for many American companies. I've got lots of friends who work for many American companies. So we're not against American tech. But what we are is very pro-British tech. And in many of the meetings we have with the government, we make the point that, look, if you were to direct public procurement funds into British businesses, you could help them grow. You could scale them. And that actually is a virtuous circle, because that money then goes into those British companies to hire British workers who pay British tax that comes back in, and it grows that virtuous cycle. And those companies get bigger, and then there's multi-generational effects like you see in Silicon Valley, where those founders, those exited founders, can then reinvest. And that's not happening at the moment. And one of the challenges that we often hear from the government bodies and officials and local government we speak to is, yeah, but it's a bit risky. It's a bit risky. They're not big enough. They're not proven. We haven't got the evidence. I mean, partly what we say back to that is, well, unless you start investing in those companies, they're never going to be big enough, and you're never going to have the evidence and the data. But also what we say is that, well, you know, we can bring those businesses together in consortia. And that's part of our work across the country, is linking up businesses like all of yours to work together to pitch for some of those contracts. We've got a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks looking at giving advice for businesses in the healthcare sector about how they can work together to pitch for some of the new funds to use AI in healthcare. So that's the challenge around sovereign AI, is that at the moment, a lot of government money is going into big global tech, and we want to be able to make sure that it's balanced so that British tech is able to grow as well. I think we've got a real moment right now. You know, there's so many things have happened in the last couple of months where the UK has been able to say, well, we've now got the sovereign AI unit. And they've been doing great work. They've been going around the country doing a bit of a roadshow, and they've got a fund. It's not a huge fund, they admit that, but what they're saying is that it's the first start. It's signalling that these are companies they want to invest in. And they can do other things as well. They can bring visas, and they can fast track visas for highly talented workers as well, bringing in. And then we've seen some incredible announcements just in the last couple of days about the new Lumen project and the project there to bring a coalition together around cosign. And we've got a cosign member in the room today as well. So there are coalitions forming there. And by the way, if you do want to find out more about that, then grab Ash afterwards. So there's opportunities there of really sort of, everyone is talking about what does sovereign AI mean at the moment. Within what we've been working on, we've come across many businesses who are building part of that technology stack. So Lord Drayson, who sends his apologies, he's the chair of our new Sovereign AI working group, but he's also the chair of GB1, which many of you will have come across, which is Britain's first LLM, not the only one. We've also got Chris Kenner in the room, who'll be joining our panel in a moment, who's built Mother, which is an open source LLM, which we'll be talking about more in a minute. So we do have LLMs in the UK. But what I'm seeing when I'm out there talking to businesses and investors is that there's two paradigms now. And the classic paradigm is the large language models running on large data centers. And those are still going to be important. But there's also a new paradigm of smaller language models running on smaller data centers, running on edge. And it's really interesting to see the emergence of that. And Britain's really good at pioneering that. And when I go to some of the universities and talk to some of the teams there, they're working on how they can make that really effective. And so what we're trying to do is bring all that together and connect it up and say, okay, both of those paradigms are really important and they can work together in unison. Maybe this one's more focused on training and this one's more focused on inference. But the more we talk to big companies, the big corporates, the big retailers across the country, they're saying that they recognize that change as well. And they're talking about risk. And they don't want to have all their eggs in one global basket. They want to understand how this ecosystem is developing and make sure that they're investing in British technology as well. So we really are at a moment, I think, in the UK. So our answer at UKAI, and I'm really hoping that all of you are going to get involved in some way in shaping this. Our answer is to build a UK AI stack. And that's not something we're trying to own, that's something that we want to help bring together. So whether it be from the physical infrastructure, the foundations, the concrete, the steel, the air conditioning, the data centers, the chips, the orchestration, the software, the apps, the entire stack. There's so many brilliant British companies building all of those parts. We just need to bring them together so that they can all work together and actually be greater than the sum of their parts. So that's actively what we're doing through the Sovereign AI working group and many of the other working groups, including the infrastructure working group, the agentic working group, the responsible AI working group. There's lots of people in our network now who are working on this. And why is that important? Well, not only can we help each other grow by just discovering those complementary parts of that stack, there's a big export opportunity here. So, you know, we're here in the UK thinking about this from a UK perspective. And sovereignty doesn't just mean for Britain. Every country around the world is thinking these same things. They're thinking we don't want to be reliant upon big American global tech. We want to find out what's the alternatives. And they're asking those questions. And you know what? They're looking to the UK because we still have that soft power you always hear the politicians talk about. It's there in the regulations, in the legal sector, in the respect and the regulations which have been built up in our professional services. So other countries are looking to us. So if we can get this right, if we can package up the UK AI tech stack into a sovereign AI tech stack, many countries around the world are looking to us and they want to work with us to buy that sovereign AI capability for themselves. So it's something that we're now pulling together. The Sovereign AI Working Group's putting this together into a report, which we'll be announcing between now and November when we have that big summit, which is the concept of sovereignty as a service. So no matter whether you're a company or a country, we want British AI to be your solution to be able to provide that sovereignty that those companies and countries need. And that really is the global opportunity. So just to wrap things up, I hope I've been able to kind of give you kind of our reason why we're so excited about the opportunity which lies ahead for the UK and what sovereign AI means to us. I was trying to come up with an acronym to capture it, and I've come up with STRIDE, which is setting standards. And I think the standards are going to be critical, and Britain really does lead the world at setting out the standards in many different fields. So standards will be key. And standards are also really important for the interoperability that is going to be key for us building that stack. So standards is key. The T is take responsibility. And you'll often hear us talk about trust as well. So maybe the two things, trust and responsibility. It's really important that if we want to be taken seriously as an industry, that we build a responsible AI industry, one that's actually thinking about the planet, thinking about the ethical dimension, thinking about the people. And the government's been talking a lot about this week in terms of the importance of ensuring that technology serves humans and not the other way around. And in fact, even the Pope got in the act a couple of weeks ago with his encyclical talking about that as well, which I think was, it just shows that this is where the momentum is moving. So trust and responsibility. The R is rooting this in data. So there is so much data, and that's what the last 10 years maybe was the age of data, and now we're on to the age of AI. But data is still really important, and we have an opportunity in the UK to lead on that. Yesterday, we had the Creative Content Exchange, which is a solution for the creative industry, and that's for copyright owners to bring their data. So that might be pictures, videos, images into a marketplace which AI developers can come and buy and license to use to train their models. It's an example of where, again, the UK can lead the world in creating a platform that can then actually be useful for many companies around the world. So rooting in data, and then buy British. I kind of forced this one into invest British just to get the I. But buy British, which I think actually Rachel Reeves said this just a couple of weekends ago. She's saying buy British. And I think as British people, we sometimes are a bit ashamed to say, oh, buy British. We've got that sort of deprecating. That's for later in the evening, isn't it? Self-deprecating view of kind of like being British. We want to say, don't buy British, but actually that's what we need to do. And it needs to be okay to say we can buy British. But we need to be making sure that it's not just buying British, it's also investing in British as well. The D was directing the future. So we need, within what we're doing, to be able to direct that future travel, working with our partners, setting the agenda rather than following it, which we can only really do if we've got these foundational assets and the regulations and the standards that we've been talking about. And the last one was the exporting point. So that point about sovereignty as a solution, being able to export all of this tech stack, all of this expertise, which is already trusted around the world. So that's STRIDE. I'm not sure how well it fits in that acronym, but we're going to be testing it out. So it might be something else by the time you see the report, which comes out on sovereign AI in a couple of weeks. We definitely won't have self-defecating in the report. I think I'll leave that one for another time. But I would really encourage any of you who are interested in continuing this conversation to please get involved with us and to have more conversations with either me or the team or the working group on that.